I heard strip poker was fun. I guess it is, if you're winning, and well, if you're stripping. But that was not quite what happened to me. It all started with a bet about who the better gamer was. Janna was my girlfriend Anna's older sister, and we were hanging out alone together one night. "So what sort of games do you like?" she asked with a shy but sweet smile. I rattled off a few names, not expecting her to know any of them. She looked like a gamer, with pink and black headphones on her bright pink hair, but so did Anna, and she totally sucked at every game I'd got her into. I was guessing her sister was also a bit of a poser like she was. She gave me another shy smile. I couldn't help but check her out a little. Anna and I had only been going out for a few months anyway. It was nothing serious. "Bet you haven't heard of most of those games, have you?" I asked, laughing a little, teasing her. She smiled again. "I've actually played most of them." "Any good at them?" I laughed, picking up a controller. "I'm alright, boys are usually pretty surprised actually." This made me laugh out loud. I was teasing her. "They probably let you in so they could get into your pants." I was winking at her. Her face darkened. I could see that annoyed her, but I kept going. "I mean, I show Anna how it's done all the time. I could show you a thing or two, I bet." At this she turned to face me. I could see she was clearly annoyed, angered even. "I'm pretty sure there's nothing you could show me that I haven't already seen." I felt a little stung but laughed it off. I was not backing down easily. "How about some strip poker then?" "I mean, strip gaming." I held out the other controller to her. She looked at it but didn't take it. "Like I said, there's nothing you got that I haven't seen already." I was about to shrug and let it go, when she suddenly reached out and grabbed the controller. "Unless you want to play a different bet." Now I was curious. "What sort of bet?" "Best of 3. She explained as she looked down at herself, and what she was wearing, with a sweet smile on her face. "Dress, knee socks, and panties. If you win, I will take them all off." My eyes widened. I couldn't stop my eyes running down her petite curvy frame. "But if you lose, you have to take all your clothes off, and wear these 3 things instead. The dress, the knee socks and the panties." This made me gasp in surprise. She was asking me to cross-dress. I laughed at the suggestion, but there was a small warm blush on my cheeks. I couldn't possibly lose to a girl, right? I was easily the best in my group of friends, and I knew all the special moves and combos. "Okay. Let's do this," I said out loud. This was going to be lit. She nodded and sat down on the couch that was in front of the screen, without a word. The first game was tight. I thought I had it in the bag, but just as I was about to finish her off, she seemed to find another gear and came back strongly. The red "you lose" words rose onto the screen and I leaned back and threw my arms up in the air, annoyed. "That was close, you got lucky," I said, mumbling. She shrugged and stood up and wordlessly walked into her room. I couldn't help watching her curves sway as she walked away. When she returned, she had a short white dress in her hands. The skirt was soft and light and very, very short. It had a tight-fitting bodice with a yellow Pokemon pattern along one side. She also had panties and knee socks. "I'm feeling confident," she said, looking at the items. "I think you should start with the dress. Just take your shirt off and wear it over your jeans." I nodded and stood up, still seething at the loss. I quickly lifted off my shirt, the pale skin of my chest glowing in the neon lights coming off the screen. She handed me the dress, and I slipped it on over my head. The soft cotton fitted like a glove made of clouds, making me let out a soft cry of surprise. I stared down at my front, smoothing the dress over my stomach and hips. I felt a strange warm happiness build in my belly. It was an effort to stop myself spinning to see the skirt fly around my legs. I half wished I wasn't wearing the jeans underneath. "Next round." Her voice teasing, but also with a softness to it that I hadn't heard before. I picked up the controller and wordlessly sat back down. As lovely as the dress felt, I was adamant that she would not win any more games. The second game was not quite as tight as the first. She seemed stronger, faster, and seemed to have measured up my weaknesses. I came back towards the end, but just not enough. I was soon staring at the screen, which now read 2-0. When I turned to her, she was already holding the knee socks in her hand, black and white stripes. She had a teasing smile on her face, and I felt like I wanted to curl into a ball. I was so embarrassed. Janna watched as I stood up and reached to tug my pants down from under the dress, trying not to let the skirt ride up and show off my bare thighs. I stepped out of them and kicked them away. The short skirt of the dress wrapped itself around my thighs. I couldn't help but sway my hips a little and watch it flow gracefully. Janna was watching too. "You have pretty legs," she said, and handed me the socks. I sighed and wordlessly sat down, slowly rolling the knee socks up my legs. They felt like soft little hugs around my calves. The stripes roll up all the way past my knee, and an inch onto my thighs. I wanted to stand and do a small spin, but instead I stayed glued to the sofa and glared at her. I was very aware of how much softer her clothes felt against my skin. My boxers helped cover up the last bit of me. I caught myself glancing at the panties that she had placed on the couch. Part of me almost wanted to throw the next game. "Let's go." There was a small note of teasing in her voice. I nodded and we started the next game. I tried my best, but I felt different. Maybe it was the edge of the skirt playing with the bare skin of my thighs, or the soft striped sock clinging to my toes. The third game finished before I could even focus myself. 3 straight losses stared me in the face. I looked at her. I felt defeated and somehow meek and soft. I stood up and wordlessly reached under the skirt to slip the last boy garment down my legs. I threw it onto the small pile of my clothes. "I guess you won," I said in a small voice, and reached for the panties. Her small black-tipped fingers shot out and closed over the panties before I could reach them. "Wait," she said, and our eyes met. Hers were warm, and there was a certain heat to her voice. "These might work better." She stood up, and as I watched, she quickly reached under her own dress and tugged. Black lace, drawn down slowly along her legs, she stepped out of her own panties and handed them to me. I could feel my jaw open wide in shock. I looked down at my hand and the barely there lace. It felt warm. "Go on, please," Janna said, and I felt her step closer. I nodded and bent slowly, slipping my striped feet slowly into the panties. Being delicate and slow, almost trembling nervously as I tugged it up my legs. Our eyes met when I straightened, pulling her warm lace to wrap around my bottom. I stared at her. She stared at me. Both of us bathed in the pink and blue neon of the screen. 2 girls staring at each other, shocked at what we were both feeling and seeing. After what seemed like ages, she stepped up closer, her hand sliding around and pulling me to her, with her fingers on my bottom. Our lips touched, gentle and soft, her voice giggling as she whispered, "Let's make it a best of 5."